Do you call upon Baal and abandon the best of creators? Allah, your Lord, and the Lord of your forefathers. There is a specific idol explicitly named in the Quran, a false deity singled out to challenge where humanity places its trust. Track the worship of this idol, and you find traces deeply embedded in Mesopotamia, Egypt, and Canaan. The devotion spreads across the sea to Carthage, weaving into the pantheons of Greece and Rome, eventually surfacing in modern Europe's occult traditions. Localized Bronze Age gods usually disappeared when their host civilizations collapsed, yet the entity known as Baal exhibits a shadowy persistence. Long after the temples of the ancient Levant fell into ruin, the core identity of this idol survived. Tracking a 4,000-year footprint across multiple distinct civilizations suggests a strategy of spiritual deception that outlives the empires it infects. The foundation of that strategy became clear in 1928. A farmer in modern-day Syria was plowing his field when he struck a stone slab. Beneath it lay the lost city of Ugarit, a thriving metropolis from roughly 1500 BCE. This is one of the ancient clay tablets recovered from the site. Written in a unique cuneiform script, these texts, known today as the Baal cycle, describe the rise of a Canaanite storm god. To the merchants and farmers of Ugarit, Baal was the divine force who defeated the chaotic sea and promised fertile lands and rain. In the Proto-Semitic language family of these texts, the word Baal was not actually a personal name, it was a title. It translates literally to owner, possessor, or lord. This was a psychological trap. By claiming the title of lord, the entity positioned itself in the minds of its worshippers as the true provider of life-giving rain and sustenance. This promise of prosperity made the cult highly attractive to neighboring kingdoms. In the northern kingdom of Israel, King Ahab and Queen Jezebel used political alliances with Phoenician trading states to systematically suppress the laws of the prophets and install the rituals of Baal at royal expense. Prophet Elias, known in the Bible as Elijah, targeted the core of the idol's presumed authority. Because Baal claimed absolute mastery over the storm, Elias petitioned God to withhold the rain entirely. For 3.5 years, not a drop of rain fell. The resulting drought starved the region, exposing the total impotence of the idol over the natural world it claimed to control. Despite these failures, the physical infrastructure of the cult remained massive. The towering stone colonnades of Baalbek, in modern-day Lebanon, stand as a witness to the immense wealth and power dedicated to this entity. As the power of these inland kingdoms declined, the center of this worship shifted. It followed the Phoenician maritime trade routes westward, where the theology entered a much darker phase. Wherever the Phoenicians established colonies, such as Cyprus, Sicily, and eventually Carthage, they constructed new temples. In Carthage, which grew into a Mediterranean superpower, the deity was worshipped as Baal Haman. Carthaginian religion introduced a terrifying theological contract. To secure the survival of the state or obtain great favors, the elite families were expected to offer their most precious possessions, their firstborn children. For a long time, historians dismissed these accounts as Roman propaganda. Then, archaeologists uncovered tuffets, burial grounds distinct from normal cemeteries. Inside these vessels, they found the cremated remains of thousands of infants and young children. The inscriptions on these stone stelae record these sacrifices as direct transactional payments. They are dedicated to Lord Baal Haman because, as the text claims, he heard my voice and blessed me. This represented the peak of human deviation, a total inversion of the natural instinct to protect one's own children, institutionalized by the state. When the Greeks and Romans conquered these regions, they absorbed the local deities through a process called interpretatio. The storm god of the East became Zeus Cassios. In North Africa, Baal Haman was identified with the Roman god Saturn. As the public temples of antiquity were destroyed, the entity mutated again. Centuries later, it resurfaced in the pages of underground European occult manuals known as grimoires. In these texts, such as the Lesser Key of Solomon, the entity is explicitly named Beelzebub, or Prince Baal, and described as a king among demons. Stripped of the mask of a benevolent nature god, the entity was finally classified for what it is: a high-ranking demonic intelligence dedicated to spreading corruption. Islamic theology identifies Baal as a real, unseen intelligence, a jinn operating under the command of Satan. His ultimate strategy is the blatant theft of divine attributes. By hijacking titles like Sustainer, Owner, and Lord, he intercepts the worship that belongs solely to the Creator. This 4,000-year survival is not evidence of the idol's power. Instead, it reflects human vulnerability, a recurring pattern of deviation that emerges whenever a society disconnects from divine revelation. The bloody, mutated history of Baal stands in direct contrast to the pure monotheism of Islam. In this worldview, ultimate authority over life and nature belongs to Allah alone. The history of this entity is a rational argument for the truth of the Quran. It is a plea to recognize the ancient counterfeit and return worship to the true Creator.